All right, so for our nose guard, we have had success with both a larger nose guard who can eat up those blocks and just, own his ground, as well as a smaller wrestler leverage type guy who can really just kind of hit the gap and get behind that center. If he doesn't get help, he's getting behind that center and running to the ball. So we've had some success with both. In either case, what we are telling this guy is your job is to dominate the center, control one of the two A gaps, and most importantly, command a double team, right? You have to be somebody that the center cannot block on their own. And the reason for that primarily is that if the center can block this guy on his own, these guards have pretty good angles down to your Mike linebacker. Okay. So to me, one of the most important things here is our nose guard has to eat two blocks for at least a little bit after the snap to get that Mike linebacker a chance to move. But what I also think is important is if we are going to tell this guy, you have to command a double team, then we need to teach them how to do that. And in my experience, I've coached some defensive line. We spend a lot of time on things like get-offs and pass rush moves and things like that. But we don't spend as much time on here's how we take on a double team and giving them rules. Do we want them to try to split it? Do we want them to take on the down man? Do we want them to go to ground? If so, where? Is it one step back, two steps back? Where do we want that to happen? All right, so we got to really work with them on that. All right, so I'll show you a little bit about how this would look in our defense. So if we key in on our nose guard here, you can see if they want to solo block him, that's what we expect. We expect him. I'm going to talk a lot about our defensive line and coach to go to the heels of the offensive lineman. We don't want them trying to get 6 yards in the backfield. If you look at where he's targeting, he's attacking his gap, and he's getting to that heel and then breaking down and chasing down the ball carrier flat down the line. Okay? Here's another similar clip here. This is a young man who's playing for us right now, doing a real nice job both here and at defensive tackle and on offense. And that's pretty much what we want, right? If they're not going to give you that extra help, press that guy and chase that guy down from behind. All right? On this next play here, you're going to see our linebacker come through pretty much untouched after that read. And this is one of those plays I like to show because this, we go to film and this guy, everyone's hooting and hollering and patting this guy on the back. But it's really the nose guard's play. And we got to make sure the nose guard knows that we saw him do the dirty work here. If you look at him, he's eating up some blocks so that linebacker can basically come through untouched. And that's what we need, right? Eat up that block, let that guy get through untouched. All right, so that's our nose guard. For our tackles and our ends, whatever you want to call them, we will typically have guys here who maybe look more like what you would consider a defensive end. That's just the nature of the guys that we have. Good athletes, taller guys. But if you have, a traditional sort of 3 and a 5 technique guy, this can be a spot where you maybe want to flip-flop guys, play one guy to the tight end, play the other guy to the open side or to the field because he will have to contain more. Their gap responsibility is going to be B or C gap based on the call, and they're coordinating with the stack that's behind them. All right, so again, there may be times where if this guy is going out here and this guy's running in coverage, he now has contain. If that's a big space-eating kind of guy, then you may not want him doing that, okay? So that's something to consider as you look for your fit for your guys, all right? We'll talk about how to play trap and read scheme a little bit later, but that's something we'll spend a good amount of time with these guys. All right, so here's an example of that. We'll keep an eye on this guy right here. Okay, that's a good example of what we're talking about by just sort of playing, not trying to get in the backfield, just extend and just heels, work down the line, make that play. Okay, that's a real nice job there. Here we get a chance to see, this guy up here, real good player that we had a couple years ago. He's just maintaining lane discipline there, right? Instead of trying to duck underneath that guy, oh, it's a pass, I'm going to go in. He knows, hey, my gap is here to this outside. I have contained, right? In this scenario, everybody else is running with players. So he knows I have to be the guy that's on the outside. I have to maintain that discipline. And if the quarterback wants to go outside, he's going to meet me. All right. Here we get a chance to see a guy actually, he hits his inside gap and actually redirects. Does a nice job here. All right. Pretty nice job. So you can see the kind of play that we're getting out of those guys. For our linebackers, for our Mike linebacker, his job is going to be opposite A of the nose, at least to start. Now, that doesn't mean that he's just firing up into A every single time. We still want him to be a football player and read what's happening in front of him. Something we'll talk about as we go. But that's his first step, okay? Typically, we would like a bigger Mike linebacker, somebody who's a little bit better at taking on some blocks than maybe these two guys on either side. The big thing we talk to him about is we get him to understand, hey, look, these guys do have some lanes on you, some angles. So you may have to be responsible for understanding that and attack that block when they come. All right. For the stack linebacker, they're going to be responsible for B or C gap based on the call, whatever opposite of this guy. Okay. For them, we are typically looking for a little bit better blitzers, better in pursuit. All right. So let's take a look at some of what we're going to see there. All right. Okay. If we're going to blitz, we want to get home. Good example of just coming through. But the thing I like there, as good as the stick is that he's coming through under control. Right? So many times we see a guy go through like that and swing and miss. He comes through in a good fit tackle under control. Here's an example of our stack. Again, same thing. We want him to be a good blitzer, but we teach him to be under control when they come through so that they're not hopefully swinging and missing. Here's an example where this guy may have contained. So we're going to look at this guy up here. Tackle in front of him is going B gap. This guy's running, so he knows I have contained now because I'm the C gap player. All right, he's going to take that block on, do a pretty good job of making sure it doesn't get outside of him. All right. All right, so let's talk about our Hawks and our Eagles. Now, if you have two guys, right, the Eagle and the Hawk, if you have two guys who can just do it all, then some of what I'm going to talk about next doesn't matter, right? Put those two guys here and play ball. You're a very lucky coach. For us, we typically don't have that. So this is one of the places where we are asymmetrical in our defense, okay? Our Hawk is going to be more of an outside linebacker, maybe more of a defensive end type at times. Here's one of our answers for a tight end. Against a tight end, he's going to play up on the line of scrimmage. So this is going to become a four-man line versus a tight end, usually, okay? He should be our best edge setter. He's the guy who has to be able to attack things from outside in and really force it back inside. When we talk about this triangle read technique, I'll show you that how we drill that, but that is from here to here to here. His eyes are going to start on this man, and then if this guy leaves, he is now looking for, is it the guard coming across or the tackle coming across? Or is he being read? Is it a fullback kick out? Right? So that's the triangle. His eyes start here, and then they snap to in here if he's not blocked to figure out what he's got next. Okay? Generally, we try not to put this guy into man coverage if we can help it, but we hope he's not a complete liability in man coverage either. For our Eagle, he's more of a strong safety type. We typically want him to the open side of the formation. We may sometimes do field short side with these guys, but generally he's going to away from the tight end, opposite the Hawk,